The T-72 has been the workhorse of the Soviet and now Russian tank force for over half a century, but with the war in Ukraine, they're drying up. Before the war began, the T-72 family was by far the largest stock of any other type of tank in storage. Today, it's down from the pre-war 2,700 to just over 600, less than 500 of which even have a viable chance of being restored. But what is a lot more interesting is the massive decline in recent months of the oldest T-72 variants. In early 2025, they still had about 80% of their pre-war T-72 Urals and A variants sitting in storage. Basically, they hardly touched them. Now suddenly, it's dropped to just half that, down to 40%. They've brought almost twice as many of these old T-72s out than any other type of tank this year. So what's going on? Let's take a look. But first, real quick, our sponsor, Exter, pioneers of the first trackable smart wallet, now revolutionizing all your essentials for seamless journeys. First, let's talk about their sleek wallets and card holders. They're super slim, about half the size of a traditional one. They hold over 12 cards plus cash without bulking your pocket. They have a real easy to use, quick click trigger. It lets you access your cards instantly. Plus things like built-in RFID blockers, shielding against data theft, real smooth and nice Italian leather, and eco-friendly too. But now we could pair that with Extra's Travel Pack Vacuum Kit. Compress all your clothes to gain 60% more room in suitcases, backpacks, or carry-ons that can fit 15 plus items per bag. This will work great for me. When I fly alone, I like to travel light with just a carry-on. This makes it easy to fit everything I need. I don't even need this big suitcase. It's durable, waterproof, anti-lip nylon bags with anti-leak zippers. The portable USB pump can be used up to 20 times per charge. So whether jet setting or exploring off the grid, Extra has you covered. And right now is their Black Friday sale, up to 54% off, plus with my code you'll get an extra 10% off. So that's up to 64% off right now. Use the code CovertCabal2025 with the link in the description and gear up now. The T-72 has an incredibly long and prolific history. More T-72 family tanks have been built than the rest of the world combined in terms of third generation main battle tanks. That includes everything from the M1 Abrams to the Leopard 2, even the Chinese Type 99s. We don't even really know exactly how many have been built, but it's over 30,000 when you count all the variants and licensed productions. And it still serves as a backbone of Russia's tank force today. Even the T-90 is really just an upgraded T-72, even using the same basic chassis. Over its half-century life, it's seen numerous upgrades. The first production line was the T-72 Ural. Not long after that came the T-72 A. And for our sake, we combine these two together in our counts. Basically, because they're so similar that it's impossible to distinguish in even the very best satellite imagery. Then, later in the 1980s, came the T-72B, which led to pretty much every other type of T-72. T-72B1, B2, B3, B3M, and countless other minor versions and upgrades. But again, we're interested in just the crazy and rapid decline we've seen in those oldest T-72s, the Urals and the A's. Due to their age, you'd think they would be the very last thing that Russia would want, unless they're virtually running out of anything newer, right? But before we get into that, a huge thanks to Jompy for all his work. This guy has just done incredible work. When I first talked to him, I showed him the very few things that I had learned about Russian vehicle reserves, and real quickly he just blew right past me in knowledge. Now I even struggle to keep up when he's trying to explain to me the intricacies of different storage depots, the vehicles at each, the repair facilities, and so on. So make sure you check him out for a deeper dive into the topic with a lot more specifics. But as I said, these T-72 Urals and A variants have suddenly declined rapidly. Again, they barely touched them for most of the war, and still had 80% of their pre-war numbers. I've even highlighted them and made 3D models showing just huge stocks that left sat untouched. Now, suddenly Russia, in less than a year, has removed over 450 of them, about half. And realistically, today it's probably much higher as we couldn't find newer imagery of some bases than 4 months old. Virtually all the decline came from just 2 storage bases. First, the 349th, and here I edited my previous animation to show that section. Here is just sat a huge stock of these old T-72s. Now unfortunately, the latest image that I can show is from July 2025. Compare that to September 2024. We were able to look at a much newer one from the 22nd of October, but there could be weird licenses and restrictions on what we can use, so we're stuck with showing you this. But as you can see in it, this huge group has finally, after roughly a decade of sitting untouched, are being dragged out and removed. In this image, already about 100 have left, and late October, 301 have been removed. The second base is the 2544th. This one has always been a tricky one to get satellite imagery of due to its remote location, but our latest image, again it's old, from late July 2025, show 99 of these old T-72s removed. And again, it might be even more due to the old age of the image. So what would be the reason for this? After all, aren't tanks becoming useless in the drone age? Well, yes and no. They've certainly faced a real threat from drones, and Russia has adapted accordingly. But Russia recently again has began using large armored assaults in some areas. Also, as Michael Kaufman points out, it can take on average 30 to 40 FPV drones to destroy a single tank, and in one case he mentions up to 70. We always see the videos of them succeeding, but no one really posts the failures, so that can lead to false impressions. And that's a real important fact to keep in mind. While FPV drones have had a huge impact on the battlefield, they're not some almighty force preventing any armored vehicle from ever moving. One reason Russia is likely suddenly pulling all these old tanks from storage is they simply don't have anything newer left. Our last count leaves just 188 newer T-72Bs and just 141 of all types of T-80s remaining in storage. That's down from the roughly 1,500 of each in storage before the war began. And those that do remain are generally in worse condition. Only a small fraction of those might ever be made viable again. After that, these old T-72s are the newest, then leaving the even older T-55s, 62s, and 64s. The other, and maybe more prominent reason though, is likely Russia's plan to overhaul and upgrade large numbers of older tanks as revealed by Front Intelligence Insight here. It appears to be part of a long-term plan over several years to begin work on making these tanks and others viable again. So if that is the case, then where are they going? We made several videos on Russia's tank repair facilities, and Jompy has done extensive work on it. There are several smaller plants, but the one major one we focused on is UVZ. The number of tanks seen outside over the years has never been more than 100, until this summer. In an image we got from the 4th of November 2025, there now sits 482 tanks out front, something never seen before, and there's likely even more inside. Not all of these are the old T-72s, there are some slightly newer T-72Bs along with some T-90s. So all evidence points to Russia beginning a major revamp and long-term project of restoring and upgrading these old tanks that will take many years. The problem is, after this, they really have very little left. The only thing remaining in large numbers in storage are the even older T-62s and T-64s. After that, Soviet stocks are virtually gone, and Russia will be on their own with the few tanks they can actually produce.